mean doing a runner?
Like security guards coming, yeah.
Oh, does that happen?
I've recorded in some weird places.
Are we breaking the law right now? Do you have a little intro?
I was just going to say, hi, I'm James. I'm sitting in Yagan Square in Perth, Western Australia on the 10th of December 2020, and I'm sat next to, is that right?
Yep, sat next to, I believe so.
A charming young woman.
Oh, thank you. Quite the
Who are
compliment.
you? Who's this voice?
I'm Jasmine. I'm 24. I'm also in, did you say Yarragon Square?
Yagan.
Yagan?
Like the warrior
I don't even know
Yagan.
where I am.
Well, this probably wasn't even built when you left. Or was it finished?
I have no idea. But actually it looks pretty new. I actually don't think it was.
No, I'm
That's
pretty
the
sure
cool thing about going away for 3 years
Yeah.
and coming back.
I would love to talk about that at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. But yeah, I'm Jasmine. Hey.
Now, Jasmine is here specifically to talk about, she has just recently left 2 weeks enforced quarantine because she travelled here from the
Definitely enforced.
dirty location of Melbourne, Victoria to Perth, Western Australia.
Dirty.
With all their dirty people with their viruses.
I think
Sorry.
there were like 40 days of 0 new cases.
Okay. When you left though?
No, it was a little bit.
It was pretty close.
It was a little bit
Yeah,
dirty.
you
then.
got-
Yeah. Well, I was in stage 4 lockdown when I left.
Yeah, it's just about 7 p.m. The sun is setting and the lights are turned on above us, the colour lights, under some kind of gazebo thing. Jasmine's here to talk about what it was like to be in the Melbourne lockdown, which is one of the most severe ones in the world, from what I can tell, but she'll tell you all about it.
Well, I
But-
don't know, because I don't know much about the European lockdown at the moment, do you?
Well, the fact that it's completely out of control there suggests that it wasn't that tough.
Well, in America, they're getting 200,000 new cases per day.
Yeah. But there was a day where France actually overtook America for like 1 day, and then America took it back for the record of most in the day.
America took it back.
Yeah. Anyway, but I wanted to go back in time to why you were here. Why the hell am I interviewing you about this topic?
Good question.
Because I want to talk a bit about why you were even in Melbourne in the first place.
Well, let's go on back.
Where are you from? You born in Perth?
We're going even further back.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was born in Perth.
Okay.
So my mum was born in Egypt. My dad's parents were both born in England. Came over when they were, I think, 16 together.
All right.
Maybe 18. Had my dad over here. And yeah, my mum was back and forth from the age of 2 between here and Egypt.
Yeah.
And then they had me and my sister, and we've just been in Perth ever since. So yeah, so always been in Perth, and then went over to Melbourne when I was 20.
I met you in 2016.
Yeah.
I think you went to Melbourne 2017.
Yeah, I didn't even know that I was going to Melbourne, so there wouldn't have even been a single conversation that we had.
No, you were a receptionist at this building I went to, which, you know, I go to like 100 places with receptionists. And the reason you're here was because you would differentiate yourself from all the other receptionists by just telling me just the most random things.
Yeah, that's just me, really. That's my life.
And like, over the few months that I knew you, I feel like I knew more about you on paper than even some of my closest friends.
Really?
Some of the things you would talk about, I was like scared that you're going to get fired for like, health and safety or whatever.
What? Was they that bad?
Yeah. I actually kept on started taking a diary because I'm like, she's telling me some really personal stuff. Like, does she want me to remember all this stuff?
Do you have it?
Yeah, somewhere in my phone.
Really?
Just little notes.
Oh. Can I hear some?
I don't know.
I just talk. I don't even pay attention.
Anyway, that's why I
to
thought
what
you'd be
say.
good. Getting back on the subject, that's why I thought you'd be good at a podcast.
Yeah.
Because I have to just cue you up and you'll talk about Melbourne for an hour.
If you want a waterfall of like information, perspective, and just, I don't know. Oh, I'm follow my heart. Then yeah, I'm literally a waterfall.
Oh no. Oh no, I've edited it. I was hoping it would say the last time I edited it so I can say what day I last saw you, but it was...
This is going to be so interesting. I'm finding out
you worked at a fish and chip shop.
Yes, I did. It's my first job.
But you were kind of felt guilty about it because of, you're like, are these fish that I'm selling sustainable? Like, what the hell goes into this fish?
What stage was I going through?
You lived in Lansdale.
Yeah.
You helped search for a kid that was lost.
Oh, there was a little boy, and yeah, he was 2 and he went missing that would have been around that time as well. Yeah, he went missing. His name was Sam. and the whole suburb, it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. The whole suburb just grouped together. So they had people come in, they were doing work at the house and they left the door open. So this kid got out and the whole suburb came together. There was SAS down at the local park and they were knocking on everyone's doors and searching people's backyards. There was just cars. It was so much traffic. Cars driving slowly with torches outside, yelling, "Sammy, Sammy." My mum got woken up at 3 a.m. because people were coming up to the window and looking in the bush and the garden out the front of the house just looking for him. There was helicopters, there was fire engines just patrolling with their lights on, and I even went to a suburb that was next door because there was just so many people everywhere looking. In the end, it was quite devastating. After 2 days, they did 3 searches of the lake and they ended up finding him in the lake, which was 1.5 kilometers away from where they lived. So he just somehow just walked down to this park. Apparently he used to love water, so they've renamed it Sammy's Lake. And just seeing the community after that come together, I remember going down there and there were little boats and candles that were out in the river, and just the whole lake, and the whole lake was just had teddies. And because it was on the same park and oval as a school, little kids wrote him letters, and just the whole lake was just surrounded by flowers and teddies and notes and letters, and everyone around the community went down there. And I remember seeing a police officer sitting there and just crying and mourning, and I'd just never seen such a community come together in such a beautiful way to care for one soul, one human. Like honestly, it was such a tragedy, but at the same time, one of the most beautiful things that I've ever experienced.
Yeah. I think that's why I put it in my little Jasmine diary, because I remember you describing it like that, like in real detail, and feeling like it was a movie, And it felt like, I've seen those scenes in the movies where like some kids go missing and the whole town comes together, but it's like, is that real? Is everyone kind of a bit jaded now? But you actually, it is real.
It was 2 days of just hundreds, thousands of people outside looking for this one child. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever forget that. And then just seeing how it affected everyone. Like we all cared together.
Yeah.
And it was such a community. Like the lake was 100 meters away from my home where I grew up and where I was raised and where I went to primary school as well. Like it would have touched so many people's hearts.
That was crazy.
But yeah.
I remember that being in the news, but it didn't really, we didn't get a sense of, because it was such a local community, I didn't get a sense of it where I lived. Doesn't like lip reading.
Don't like lip reading? What does that mean?
That's something you've told me.
Don't like lip reading?
Why? I don't know. Anyone was that passionate about not liking lip reading?
I don't know why, yeah. I must have been passionate about it enough for you to write it down. What, that's such a random thing.
Anyway, then you sort of disappeared one day and there was a hole in my life. Because, there's such a high turnover of receptionists that they come and go and I can't keep track of them. And so I just figured I would never see you again. Until one day I was on Instagram and there was a picture by this person called Shanice Edmonds with you tagged, or a woman who looked like you tagged with Jasmine, saying, "Good luck, all the best, had a great last night with you, have fun in Melbourne."
Yeah. So,
And that was like 6 months later. I didn't know what happened to you. You just disappeared. You did give me a hint that something was going down, but when I came in the next day, you were just gone.
Yeah, it was pretty abrupt. So my manager there wasn't very nice. I told you that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well.
You used to bitch about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But she just wasn't nice. So, yeah, I ended up leaving. And, yeah, it was quite abrupt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
How do you know Shanice? Because Shanice is now she's been my best friend 10 years. I'm actually about to move in with her, in 3 days.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah?
Because it was kind of mind-blowing that you guys knew each other. I had met Shanice.
Shanice. Yeah.
Shanice a few months earlier because I had an audition for something, maybe a film, and she applied for it but we held the auditions. I don't think she came to the audition, but she sent me an email because I sent out an email once people applied saying, oh, this is the time and date of the audition. And a few months later, she sent me an email saying, hey, I missed the audition, but I'm interested in the next project you're doing. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I do have this podcast.
Really?
Yeah. And she came along. She's been on the podcast.
Has she? No way.
I know. This is mind-blowing. I've always wanted to talk to you about this weird connection.
I'm seeing her tomorrow. I'll definitely ask her. What? That's crazy.
And you used to talk about this best friend all the time.
Probably, yeah.
And I always wondered if you were talking about her. And I used to read Shanice used to send me her stuff she's writing. And I think, I don't know if we were talking on mic before, but you said a best friend of yours wrote a book with you in it as one of the characters.
Have you read it? Tessellate.
I possibly have. But I can't remember. This was quite a few years ago. I remember thinking at the time, once I worked out that you guys were best friends, that is she writing about Jasmine? But I never knew. I never asked.
So, potentially, I think she wrote a novel about our friendship. So I think I was a little bit of a muse.
And what was really random is Shanice had a pitch for a podcast that she wanted to do. And she wanted to pitch to me. And she worked in Osborne Park as well. It's like, do you want to meet after work? And I regret not recording that because she had this really passionate speech about what she wanted to do. And I should have recorded it and showed it to her back to her because I think she lost her confidence in the idea. When she was pitching this idea, she was like, oh, I'm going to interview some people. And I'm like, by this time, I knew you. This was a few months later. And I said, oh, I've met this woman your age who you should totally talk to on your podcast.
Way.
And I think I even floated it to you as an idea. And I don't think it ever worked out. But imagine if you guys turned up and the woman that I had recommended to it was like your best friend.
That would have been so weird.
It would have been weird.
Isn't it crazy how things go full circle?
Yeah. It is weird.
I can't believe you made that connection. Well,
it wasn't until I saw that post on her page saying, oh, good luck in Melbourne. And you were actually tagged in it that I was like, oh my God.
So she's not even like my best friend anymore. She's like family. She's like my sister, my soul sister. Like,
I know.
We are inseparable. She's the closest person to me.
You used to talk about this girl you get stoned in a bathtub with.
Yeah, that's her.
Oh,
that's
God.
in the novel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the connection I made in the novel later on. I can't remember the timeline of this stuff. But
yeah, we used to put our doonas and blankets and like pillows in the bathtub when it was like winter and raining and cold outside, and we would smoke weed and then we'd just listen to music and dance and talk and hang out, and that's what we used to do.
Wow.
It's like comforting. I don't know.
Anyway, that's awesome. We've got to get back on topic.
Yes, okay.
I saw you in this post with just heading off to Melbourne, and I'm like, oh, I found Jasmine. She's on Instagram.
But she's leaving.
But she's leaving to go to Melbourne. And I'm like, what happened between the Jasmine I left Wittens and deciding to move to Melbourne? Finally, after half an hour, I got to the first question.
So is that the question?
Yeah.
What happened?
Like, why? Why did you head off to Melbourne?
Well, I think, so after I was working at Wittens, I think I actually got fired, to be honest. I learned that it's okay to be fired. So after Wittens, I got fired and I was heartbroken. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I was also kind of like, is there something wrong with me for getting fired? Anyway, I learned that there's not. Sometimes jobs just aren't right for you. And then my boyfriend at the time's auntie got me a job at the Good Guys until I could find another job.
The Good Guys?
Yeah.
Like selling stereos and washing machines. And
yeah. So I just went in. His best friend worked there too. And I just, worked there until I found another job, which was good. I was working. I was keeping busy. I broke up with my boyfriend while I was working there with his best friend and his auntie. His auntie was my boss.
What happened?
So I left, and his family is so, so loving. I was so lucky, and I went to high school with him and his best friend. So then I found a job in real estate. So I just had this idea one day, and I was like, I want to make a lot of money, as most of us, some go through a phase, I'm sure, of I want to make a lot of money. How am I going to make a lot of money? And I was like, real estate. I'm good at talking. I can, I love houses. My mum constantly had floor plans and stuff surrounding us growing up. So I was like, I'm going to try it. So I applied for this job in reception again for a real estate company. And I went to the manager and I said, hey, I'm working in reception, but that's not where I want to be. I think it was actually the director. And he said, okay, well, you're in reception, so keep working in reception. If you prove to me that you can do more, then I will pay for your property management course and you'll become a property manager. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be a property manager. I want to be a real estate agent. And he said, well, you're 19 or 20, however old I was, you're 20. People aren't going to trust you with their largest asset. And so he was like, work as a property manager, work on a large portfolio, get a client base, a network with property owners and tenants. And then when you're a bit older and you've got more experience, then become a real estate agent and you'll be more successful because you've got this experience and you've got this network. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I started doing work that wasn't my job. I started staying back late. I worked so hard I told my other manager, I was like, I don't want to be in reception, so I'm working to not be in reception, just want to let you know. And she was like, okay. I had other property managers say, Jasmine is going above and beyond, she's doing this, this and this to my manager, so I was recognised. And so one day the director said, okay, it's time for me to pay for your real estate licence, let's go. So I went and did the course, I got my property management licence, I got promoted to assistant property manager. I was working on a portfolio of 270 properties. I was doing a whole heap of work. I used to stay back sometimes. If I left before 7 p.m, it was early. So it got to the point where sometimes, I would stay back until 11 and I'd be in at 9 a.m. the next day. And it got to the point where I went home one day and I just thought, what is my life? My relationships weren't as strong as what they were before. And then I realized, what is my life? And I just thought, like, it's not, it's just work. And I was like, I'm 20, my life shouldn't be work. So I had this spur of the moment idea of, what if I just apply for a job in Melbourne? And this was stemming off 2 years beforehand. My friend said, I want to play music and I want to move to Melbourne. And I was like, okay, if you do, I'll be your manager. We'll move to Melbourne together. So literally I was just like, well, why don't I just move to Melbourne now? So I applied for maybe like 5 to 10 jobs. Within a week, I had a phone interview. I had to take a video of myself answering questions on an app and send that through. I had an assessment. I had a video conference. And
this is before you left?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was just from that day where I was like, what is my life? Within a week, I did all of this while still working. And then I got a phone call. I was sitting at my desk and I got a phone call and I went outside and I took it, and it was this company, and they were like, hey, we want to hire you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? Oh my God, no way. This is amazing. This is so exciting. And thank you so much. And she was like, when do you want to start? And I was like, well, I'm in Perth, so can you give me 3 weeks? I just, get ready to move over. And then she's like, yeah, no worries. See you in 3 weeks. This is the start date. I was like, amazing. So I hung up the phone and I walked back into my office and I sat down and I was just like in shock.
Threw a spanner in the works.
And I sat there and my colleague was like, I just had this smile on my face and I was just like just frozen. And my colleague was like, what, are you okay? And I was like, I'm moving to Melbourne. And she was like, what? And I was like, I just got a job in Melbourne. And she was like, don't you have to resign? I was like, yeah, I should probably resign then. So I messaged my manager and I was like, hey, can we have a chat when you come back in? And then I just was just like thinking, I was like, holy moly, I'm moving. I've never even been to Melbourne before. And then, I had a chat with my manager. I resigned. I went home. I told my family. I had to find someone to move into my house I was living in. I had to find a place to live in Melbourne. I had to get my car sent over. I had to go visit my nana in the country. I had 5 working days still. I had to have my 21st birthday because my 21st birthday was going to be in Melbourne then in 10 days. Like I would leave and then it'd be 10 days later. I had to go to the holiday house down south with Shanice and I had to do all of these things. And then it got to the point where I was at the airport and I just I hadn't stopped moving and I just realised like I'm moving to Melbourne. And that's essentially how I did that.
Wow. Those moments are super exciting, right? Where it's just adrenaline. So much is being thrown at you and so many sort of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm doing it. I'm can't believe what's going to happen on the other side. So you land in Melbourne?
I remember my ex-boyfriend actually dropped me off at the airport and...
While you were together?
No, we weren't together. And I was on the tarmac and just tears just started running down my face. And I got on the flight and I was sitting in the window seat and there was a spare seat in the middle and then a woman who was sitting on the end on the aisle seat. And I was just crying and I just looked at her and I'm like, I'm moving to Melbourne and I've never even been there before. And she was like, it's okay. I was just crying and I was just looking out the window and then all of a sudden I just remember just like waking up and I spoke to the air hostess and I was like, excuse me, like when is the food coming? And she was like, oh, we land in half an hour. And then she's like, there's no more food. And I was like, oh. So I literally cried and cried for like maybe 15 minutes and then just fell asleep from exhaustion. And then I woke up and we were landing and then I realised I hadn't actually messaged my housemates to organise a time for me to go to the house.
How did you arrange that?
I was sitting in I didn't know what the address was. Nah. I didn't even know what the address was.
You were just on like flatmates.com or something like
Yeah.
that. Meeting. Wow.
Told them that I was coming on that day.
Wow.
Forgot to let them know what time my flight landed and get the address. So I was in the taxi on the way to... I just said go in this direction, Abbotsford somewhere, and then I was messaging them, please answer, I need to come in. I'm here, I'm moving.
Wow.
And I just remember going through the city and just thinking, wow, this place is huge, this is crazy. And then I've got so many stories about when I first got there. It's kind of off topic.
Well, yeah, it's really exciting to hear people talk about that, like, because I love Perth, but I kind of regret not moving and living somewhere else for that exact reason, just to have that feeling of going, oh my God, what am I doing?
There's absolutely nothing holding you back.
Yeah.
And if I were to tell anyone any advice about that, if they were thinking about moving, you just do it. Like you literally can't think about it. If you want to make that leap, if you want your life to have that experience in it, then you've just got to find a way to make it happen, and fear will hold you back. So don't let yourself think about it. If you genuinely want that, if that's what your heart wants, then just make it happen. Do the things.
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. We'll talk about it later.
Where would you go?
Oh, I've made some decisions.
Have you?
Yeah. We'll talk about it off air.
Oh, okay.
I can't talk about it on the podcast yet.
All right, you guys can't know, sorry.
Right. By this time, I'm following you on Instagram.
Uh-huh.
And I'm really...
So that would have been the day before that you followed me. So you would have followed me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm going through this flight and this this journey.
I know.
Yeah. And here you were just being like, I wonder what happened to this receptionist.
Again, I felt like I knew you so well on paper just from your like classic oversharing to the stranger mailman. But I didn't really know you at all. Like, I've never saw you out of the office or, you know, it was just like, hey, guess what? Because you're like always whispering because you don't want to get heard caught talking.
That whole like leaning over, like, so
you wouldn't believe what happened today.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe what happened to me last night. Oh, yeah. So I'm like following you. All right. You know, I'm trying not to use Instagram too much, but you slowly, I'm like really impressed with like what because I've had a lot of friends that like go to Melbourne and burn out really quickly.
Really?
But you're like, at some point you've got this really cool little apartment with a little beautiful tree out the back. You've got a rabbit.
Yeah, a little Bunsen.
And I could see like there was this very tension between going out and meeting new people and making new friends or staying home in your cozy apartment. But things seemed like you had it all together.
No one ever does. Let's be real.
No, but that's what people present on Instagram, and it was cool and all.
No, I was 21, living in a new city on my own, not having known anyone, in an apartment, working full time, and going to uni.
Mm-hmm. Was you making friends with like your housemates or your work people?
Well, so when I first went over there, those two housemates. So they ended up answering when I was in the taxi, thank God. And I got there and oh my God, he was so funny. They were both so funny. They were hilarious. So hilarious that when I got there, he thought it would be funnier to watch me struggle with my luggage into the elevator and trying to get it into the house without helping me because he thought it was so funny.
That's a classic movie scene.
Oh gosh. Yeah. And then up the stairs. Yeah, it was a whole nother story. Anyway, so I made friends with those two guys. I was living there when I had my 21st birthday, so they took me out. That was a really weird experience because usually 21st birthday you're surrounded by people that you love and who love you, and you go out and you experience things that you want to experience, but these people did not give a shit about this person that they had known for 10 days. They were just like, oh, I want to go do this, I want to go to this bar, and I was like, but I want dumplings. Can we just go get dumplings for my birthday?
This is your 21st?
Yeah. Wow. And they were like, well, we just want to go out here.
Oh, I think I actually remember this. You might have posted that.
Maybe, yeah. In the end, just two of them ended up coming out for dumplings with me. Yeah. Ended up costing like $60 because we went to this really expensive place in Chinatown that I didn't realise would be so expensive. But, that's what happens when you go to a new city.
Yeah. Classic. But things come together, right? Do they? I don't know.
How did I make friends? Yeah. So I kind of made friends with them, and then I moved into another apartment because that lease was ending after a month. I just went there because I was like, it's short term, a month. Went into another place. There were two guys, 19, studying business. They were from Sydney. They just wanted to party.
Yeah.
Party. Like, I would come home from work because I used to work around the corner during the day because I was like tired or just wanted to rest or food or whatever. And they would be doing drugs in their house. Midday, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm trying to be like this businesswoman, 21, and you guys are doing drugs in the house. And they would bring random people back, and they would get home at like 7 a.m. and they'd be like, oh, we came home at 7 a.m. because we didn't want to wake you up, we knew you'd be awake. And I'm like, okay, thank you. But it was so much fun. They were crazy. They stole a pope from this cardboard cutout of this pope.
Pope?
Yeah.
As in like the Catholic guy?
Yeah. It was like a cardboard cutout, a life-size one of him waving. And it was on a second story of this balcony. And they climbed up to the top, stole him like with a bunch of mates, took him. And then, so we just had this pope in our apartment for months. And we used to put it in front of each other's bedroom doors. So you'd open the door and there'd be this pope right in front of you. It was scary.
I'll have to be 19 again.
We had a Christmas tree.
Were you older than them?
I was 21, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. What was that like?
Well, I wanted to focus on my career. Did you notice
an age difference at that point?
Yeah, or maybe they were 20. They were only a year younger than me, okay. I think. Or maybe they had their 20th birthday there. I did. They had different priorities, and I didn't want to be involved in all this stuff, but they loved it.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember I came home once and the taxi driver was like pulling into the street and there were these two random guys in a hoodie, and I was like, oh, can you just like drive up to the door, please? Because I'm a little bit scared. And we drive a bit and realise that they're both my housemates.
Wow.
And then one's got a random bike and the other one's got a wheelie bin. We get to the door and they open up the wheelie bin and they start pulling out fire extinguishers. And they're like, can you help me? I'm like, they're coming out of a bin. No, I can't help you. And then they're like setting off fire extinguishers and stuff on top of buildings onto the street. And the whole street is just like smoke. Oh, man.
And on top of your house?
So on top of the Victoria Street. Yeah, okay. I don't know if you know Melbourne, Victoria Street. Very busy street in Richmond, like the outer city.
Were you with them?
I was on the street, yeah.
Okay.
And one of them went up to the very, very top of this like
So this wasn't near your house? Where you live?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was on the roof of the apartment complex where we were living.
Okay, yeah, okay. Shooting it down onto
the street, yeah.
Did they get in trouble?
No.
Did you have any interaction with the police?
No. Oh, apart from my boyfriend who I dated a couple of years later.
Oh, okay. We'll get into that.
But yeah, so then I met them and I made friends with them, but then they moved back to Sydney, and after that I was like, I'm living on my own. Like, I'm not dealing with this anymore, these housemates. So that's when I got my apartment, and yeah, I guess I met friends from my first job. I made a good friend, a couple of really good friends actually. My second job in recruitment. You just meet people, hey. You just meet people and you click and you just keep them around. Mm-hmm. Like, I got some beautiful friends over there. I met one at a Christmas Eve party. I met another one at a quiz night. You become the person who says yes.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess how you meet.
But I spoke to you, I think it was like a summer evening, last summer. Mm. I think I was on the balcony. It was a beautiful night, balmy night, and I was sipping some wine or
Treat yourself.
And I was messaging you, and I don't normally message you drunk. It's a bad thing to message people drunk.
Not with me.
Fun?
Not with me.
No, but I just all the time. You had a serious partner.
Yeah.
Everything was going good.
I was working as a contractor and I got offered 2 permanent positions within a company and I turned them down because I wanted more pay, and I ended the contract and then came over to Perth for 2 weeks, went back to Melbourne, was living with my boyfriend's parents until I found another job and we could get our own apartment, and because I was a contractor I couldn't find another job. We went back on the 9th of March and Melbourne went into lockdown on the 22nd of March. I mean, after 2 weeks, I found a job at a TAFE, but then the TAFE closed down.
Mm. I mean, it hit everyone in the world. Obviously, Perth theoretically got hit and everyone was freaking out. Everyone was buying toilet paper, going to shops and stuff.
Murphy's put a limit on alcohol.
Oh, that was shocking. And
the only state.
It was only WA.
It was only WA that had a limit on alcohol you can purchase. You
know, everyone was freaking out buying stuff, and I thought actually, well, lights are on. I thought I actually got it because I went out to get my 2 weeks. Everyone was like, oh, you got to go out and get 2 weeks of food. So I went out to the shopping centre to get 2 weeks of food, and everyone was coughing and sneezing on me. And I came home and I woke up at 3 a.m. the next morning with the craziest fever I've ever had in my life. And people would be in rooming like, what's it like? What's it like? Oh, it's like the craziest fever you've ever had in your life. And I'm like, yeah, I've definitely got it. And I'm like, next morning I wake up and I still feel really like I got a fever. And I ring up the testing place and they're like, oh, have you been overseas? Oh, we're not testing anyone who hasn't been overseas recently or has a known contact that's been overseas. I didn't know anyone who'd been overseas recently, so I couldn't qualify for a test. And I'm like, well, I guess I just go to work then. I just infect everyone. I was really freaked out that I'm like, I'm going to be that person who's just spreading it all because I'm a courier going from business to business. And I'm like, well, they reckon I don't have it because I haven't been in contact with someone. But how would I know that any of those people at the shopping centre haven't been overseas?
Yeah. That was crazy about the testing, how you could only get tested if you had been overseas for the last 14 days or knew anyone.
Yeah.
I think that was a mistake that they made probably from the beginning.
And I had that fever lasted like almost a week. And I was like, I've never had a fever longer than 12 hours before. Like, this is definitely something. But I couldn't get tested.
So do you still think that you had it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was freaked out as I was spreading it because I couldn't quit my job. Because you had to to get off work, I had to get a positive test. But I couldn't get a test. Anyway.
Wow, okay. It
turns
that
out
I feel like a bit like 1.5 meters?
Yeah.
Even though this was like...
I know, I might have it. But apparently you lose your sense of... I've since heard you really literally lose your sense of taste, and I didn't do that. So I feel like I can't have had it.
Did you have respiratory symptoms at all?
No, I just had a fever for like a week, and it was a mild fever. It was only bad the first night, and then after that it just felt like I had the chills all the time. And it was probably like psycho, what's that thing where your brain makes you feel sick because you think you're sick?
I have no idea.
Psycho-induced sickness? I don't know.
I mean, it would make sense if you went out and you were so paranoid about other people.
I wasn't paranoid until you started noticing people coughing and sneezing on you. We're not covering them out.
Was this a regular occurrence before COVID? Did I just not notice it?
I reckon it probably happens all the time, but I became really conscious of people coughing.
Of course.
Once it was like, oh, this might be spreading through the community.
I remember
I still didn't think about it until I thought it was gross because you really start to notice, but it wasn't until I actually woke up with this crazy fever that was like unlike any fever I've ever had. Like, it felt like I had pins and needles and stuff like that, but it was not like the normal pins and needles I've had when I've been sick before. It was very weird.
I'm
so
glad
like, this
you
is
survived.
it. Yeah. That's my trauma. I got put on JobKeeper for like a month because everyone shut up shop. There was nowhere to take mail to. But then at the end of the month, they tallied up and we didn't lose the 30% or whatever you needed to get qualified for JobKeeper. And that was it for me. It was back to normal basically after that. Like, there was no community spread in Perth. But you, on the other hand, on the other side of Australia, what was happening with you?
Very different place.
Yeah.
Yeah. People weren't hiring because companies had no idea what was happening. So there was just a freeze. Every recruitment agency I talked to said that there was a freeze with hiring. So then I was with my boyfriend's parents, and here I was being unemployed.
Yeah.
and not being able to get a job. And they were telling me I should print off my resume and walk around the local shops and hand out my resume. And I was just thinking, well, if COVID's like a real thing, then they're not going to be hiring either. How am I going to get a job?
Yeah. I mean, I was walking into businesses with people crying because they'd been told that, like, all the retail shops, because the shops were closed, they were just getting rid of all the casuals and that, like keeping like 2 of the permanent part-time people or whatever.
Gosh.
And just going to a skeleton stuff and firing everyone else. And I was just it was really depressing for like 2 weeks, where walking to this place where people were just crying, and I'm like, what's going on? This is my last day. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't pay the mortgage, blah blah blah.
Man, I didn't have it that bad. No way. COVID affects everyone differently and on different levels and scales as well. And I feel like it's the people who were a bit more established, the people who had kids and mortgages that kind of got affected, and businesses. They're the ones who got affected the most. Like, when I think about it, I'm like, I'm so lucky that I was this age and I didn't have kids and a mortgage and a business yet.
I mean, we were very lucky in Perth.
Yeah.
But Melbourne thought it had it under control.
So
what was your timeline? Did you ever get out of lockdown?
For 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
For 2 weeks in 7 months, yes. So we went into lockdown. I'm pretty sure it was it was either the 22nd we found out or the 22nd of March that we went into lockdown, or the 23rd, one of those. But we went into lockdown. My boyfriend's dad had just got out of open heart surgery 2 weeks beforehand. Yeah, and I was living with him, and I was catching public transport trying to find a job. But it was so eerie. I don't even know where to start. I honestly, Aaron's sister gave birth in stage 4 lockdown.
Who's Aaron's sister?
Aaron is my ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
So my ex-boyfriend's sister gave birth in stage... there's just... I don't know. So
you got a job at ATO during COVID?
Yeah. So at the beginning, it was like, how am I going to find a job? And it was a huge shock to my ego. Mm-hmm. My boyfriend's parents that I was living with were like, come on, like, what's wrong with you?
Freeloader, were you hanging around in your house?
Then we went into lockdown, and I was like, holy dooly. But TAFEs was still open. So I got a job at a TAFE.
Had you met them before lockdown?
Yeah, I did, but I'd only been with him for 3 months.
Okay.
So
they didn't know you that well?
No. They didn't know that I was capable. They didn't know that I was highly hireable. They just saw that I
unemployed.
was living with them for free, unemployed, thought my boyfriend was paying for me, didn't realise that I had money saved, didn't think that I should go on Centrelink because, I was living with them and I was undeserving of it. I didn't deserve the support. Wow. Really, really highly judgmental.
Was your boyfriend's dad a cop as well?
No, he was a CEO of like a big company.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah. And his mum was retired, so she was always home.
I'm guessing he votes Liberal.
Oh, like they were far right. I told them, I was like, I probably lean a little bit more to the left. And they're like, oh, well, if you're going to join this family, we're very far right. So you'll have to change that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, yeah, they didn't like me because I didn't have a degree and I didn't have a stable job. And this was just like so much worse. But I ended up, finding a job at TAFE, lost it, found a job at a call centre. Yeah. So I went into this group interview and I was just like, I'll just take anything. And so I got a job at the ATO in their call centre. But as you can imagine, ex-boyfriend's dad just had open heart surgery. He's a very high risk, and I'm having to catch a train every day into a very, very busy part of the city, Richmond, and go into a building with 300 other people. Mm-hmm. And we had a little scanner where you tap the door and you tap on the scanner, push the door, and there were 2 doors to enter and exit, and there were 300 people in the office, and we all used the same doors.
Wow.
And we all used the same lifts. There were 4 lifts. And so I did that, and I would stay late because I didn't want to go back to my boyfriend's parents' house. And I just working at a call centre is just after the qualifications and the work and things that I'd done before, it was a big change. And
demoralising.
Yeah, a little bit, to be honest. And the people that I was talking to as well were all affected by COVID. So JobKeeper, the business help loans, or they're not called that, but the loans the business grants for COVID, the early release of super, that was all coming through the ATO. So I was dealing with them every day.
Yeah, wow.
So I heard some stories, and I was just listening to everyday people struggling financially from COVID about their businesses and things. And that was, in the first lockdown. So after 3 months, I moved out of Aaron's parents' house and in with my friends, and we actually came out of lockdown. I think it was a little bit after Perth.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I think so.
So we came out of lockdown for 2 weeks, and you could go to cafes, you can go to restaurants, you could go to uni and things as well. And then after 2 weeks of this freedom, we started getting numbers again. It was so weird because for 3 months it was just like every day watching the numbers, and they rose and then they started to fall, and when they were falling it was like this sense of relief, and then when things opened up it was like, oh my god, I can do normal things again, I can see my friends, I can go eat out places. And then when numbers started to rise again, and then we were told we're going back into lockdown, it was just it was like, what do you mean? We just did all of this. Like, we surely the last 3 or 4 months went for nothing. So, we had 2 weeks, and then we went out. I remember it was the last day. They gave us 2 days' notice. It was the last day, and I went out on Chapel Street, and there were
2 days' notice at your job?
No, 2 days' notice that we were going to lockdown.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's crazy.
Actually, before that, did you hear about the government housing? The flats in Flemington and North Melbourne? Did you hear about them?
I know there was like some breakouts in them, right?
Yeah.
And they sort of were like chucking food over the wall to give to them or something.
So, but before the whole city went into lockdown, so in Melbourne, the government housing is in these huge towers, and they just put families and stuff in these apartments, and they're scattered throughout the city. And there was an outbreak in one of the towers, and because everyone's in very, very close quarters, Dan Andrews decided that these towers are in lockdown, and they're in lockdown now. If you have a visitor in your house, they are staying there. You're not able to leave to go to this grocery store. You're not able to leave for exercise. You are not able to let your dog out to go to the toilet. You are in lockdown, and then they had police patrolling the hallways. They provided food, but the rest of some food, but it was like frozen meals that had been like blended, and just like cans of things, and just poor food. And the rest of Melbourne was like, wait a second, how come they're in lockdown and we're all allowed out? So a lot of Melbourne band together and donated a whole heap of food to give these people, like home cooked meals and vegetables, and left it at the bottom of the buildings. But then the government confiscated it all and wouldn't give it to anyone in the building.
Yeah, I remember this. Honestly.
Oh man, it was, and then after that, so that I think they were in lockdown for like a week.
Yeah,
like it was 5 or more days.
There's probably gonna be a movie made about that.
Of not being able to go outside, just like basic human rights.
I know.
The numbers weren't even that high. Oh, I think there were 57 new cases from one building. So I guess, if the transmission rate for COVID, so the flu, the transmission rate is one person will pass it on to 2 people. Yeah. And with COVID, it's one person will pass it on to 4. So I understand that if 57 people pass it on to 4 people so each,
200 out the gate.
And then 200 pass it on to 4. Yeah. So, but then what happened is they started to lock down areas. So then the suburbs around the areas where the towers went into lockdown. Yeah. And I remember visiting my friend in Keilor East, and he was fine, but Keilor was in lockdown.
Yeah. Oh, this was getting weird. We were, I was following the news going, like, everyone was like, wait, can I go to the next suburb to go to the shop? Oh no, that suburb's in lockdown. Yeah, literally. How did they do it? Like, did they actually put police on the street and say, like, border crossings between suburbs? So the whole time we were in lockdown, I think the second lockdown, so beginning from now, they did. They had police standing at different roads, the kind of like a booze bus, how you would have to drive through, and they would be like, where do you live? Yeah. And you would have to prove where you lived, and then be like, why are you going out? Where are you going? Why are you out? And you would have to justify yourself, and if you didn't, it was like a $1,500 fine. We had those things in Perth, but they were between major towns, like between Perth and Bunbury. There was a lockdown, and I actually got separated from my parents for about a month because they lived down south, and we couldn't visit them because there was a a border put up between Perth and Bunbury. That's very easy to do because there's like only 2 highways that go to Bunbury, you know. But how can you actually enforce that suburb to suburb in Melbourne?
Well, they had, stops. My boyfriend at the time was a police officer, so he would get rostered on these shifts.
Yeah.
He would get rostered onto hotel quarantine and also, these checkpoints, COVID checkpoints, that's what they call them.
When he came home, like, what was on his mind? Like, how was it? Is he different, or was it just a job to him?
He didn't agree with the lockdown. You know, there's a lot of people that didn't agree with it. I did. I thought, follow New Zealand.
Yeah.
Follow the other states who have, done the lockdown and come out the other end. If we ever, my family was in Perth and I was in Melbourne, so I was like, if I ever want to see my family, we're going to have to go through lockdown.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was so tricky because his sister was pregnant at the time and he was going to do hotel quarantine. So he was putting himself in situations where COVID was literally positive. And in the end, what ended up sparking the second outbreak, 99% of cases, was that security guard that went in and was paying cards, or he was like sleeping with a positive case. And then he worked as an Uber driver and went in and did Uber, and he's 99% of the reason why the cases spread for the second lockdown in Melbourne.
We were laughing about that over here, and you guys were like,
oh, we were crying.
I know. My friend Eloise has been on the podcast and went viral because she did a little skit about, she like dressed up all slutty. I was like, hey, and she's like blowing her nose and, I'm feeling a bit lonely in my hotel room. Would you like to come say hello? Yeah.
Would you like to have some of my COVID?
And then like she's riding the guy and just sneezing all over his face. Oh my God. Anyway, I'll put that in the show notes. So what was going on with you? Like you couldn't get a job at this point?
So I was at the ATO, but it got to the point where we started hitting numbers just before. We started hitting numbers of 700. And because I work for the government, the ATO, I was allowed to work. So I was allowed to catch public transport. I was allowed to go into the office. But I thought about it and I was like, with the conditions that we're working in, this is a breeding ground. We were hot desking as well.
Still hot desking? Yeah,
so I don't work directly for the ATO. It's an outsourced company.
Yeah, all these bloody contractors.
Yeah. But we were hot desking and I was like, this is COVID breeding ground. So
I think I remember you posting about taking the tram or something to work, and it was like a bit like a ghost town. You're like really freaked out. Yeah, it
was really weird. So it went from being like packed to being mediumly packed, where someone would sneeze and everyone would like look at them, to just being completely. The second lockdown was everyone was gone. I was peak hour 4 p.m. on the train back, 5 p.m. On the train back from Melbourne City into the suburbs, and it was empty. I was the only person in the carriages. People got scared. People got real scared. And the rules were really harsh. Not allowed out past 8 p.m. Not allowed more than 5 kilometres from your home. Allowed outside for 1 hour a day. Weren't allowed to see anyone other than your intimate partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, one person from the household's allowed at the grocery store. It was really eerie. It was so quiet there.
You got sent out?
Got sent out?
To get the shopping done?
Oh, independent woman, always doing my own grocery shopping.
Oh, not for, you didn't have to do it for your boyfriend's parents? Oh, this is when you moved out? When I moved out,
okay, yeah. No. His mum was very on the ball with
that. But also at this time, right, all your friends in Perth are starting to come out of lockdown.
Yeah.
And people were just like not giving an F. There's like music festivals and people. I remember there was like some day that was like really anticipated when I was like, oh my God, the bars are open. We go to a bar.
Meanwhile, we're only allowed out for 1 hour a day.
And I can definitely sense you're just following your Insta stories. I can see like your self-esteem or morale dropping.
Well, I lost my job. I was first year uni as well, so all my uni went online. I was literally, when you're in a lockdown like that, you're confined to your room. You have your room, and anything you want to do in your life has to be in that room or in that house. I was living with friends who I'd never lived with before, and we were all going through a pandemic, so all of our moods were a bit low. We constantly watching the numbers, constantly hoping that it was going to come out of it. But there was a long time there where it was getting worse.
Yeah.
A long time. And you completely just changes your life. The way that I got through it, which in hindsight I kind of learnt might not have been the best way, but it was, in a month it'll be over. It'll just be 6 weeks. This lockdown is just 6 weeks. In 4 weeks, in 5 weeks, 6, whatever. I just kept putting a time on it and being like, after this amount of time, it'll be fine. But that time kept getting extended.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every time it got extended, the people I follow, like on Twitter and stuff, it was
heartbreaking.
It was. I only know these people through like text posts that they put on Twitter and Reddit and stuff, and I can see just like, oh my God, I can't believe it's, going on. Like, it was really weird to see because we were looking at it from the outside, looking in. Obviously, back when Perth was in like a lockdown for like a week, we probably looked crazy to other people who were looking in, but it seemed psychologically like a huge thing because we're looking at it going, oh, what are these guys complaining? They just get to sit at home and watch TV.
And I felt that from my friends and family too. I'd be like, I'm going crazy. Like it's been 5 months and I've been to a cafe once, or I can't see my friends. And the hardest thing was my support network, mostly because I had been there for 2 years at that point. My support network was in Perth, and they would say, it's fine, it'll be over soon.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Try to be supportive.
I'm like, you have no idea. I've lost my job. I can't see my friends. I'm trying to do uni online, and I'm a very talkative person. I'm not doing even as well as I would like to at uni, and that's demotivating. I'm confined to my room, and my relationship was breaking down as well because I just spent 3 months living with his parents, and it was just so much, and I couldn't go out and do the normal things that would make me happy. I felt like I had a template. I had fitness, my friends, the ocean, being outdoors and meeting new people. I had a template of things that made me happy, and I couldn't do anything on that template.
It's probably snowballing because it's like, well, you're probably not doing well at uni because you can't get good fresh air to get the mind healthy, and you don't have the mental health of social bonds and stuff like that, and so you suffer, and it's like, oh, sure, I can sit in a room and I can just study really hard, but life doesn't really work like that.
You lose momentum.
Yeah.
Like, energy breeds new energy, right? So like, if I'm feeling upbeat and excited, then I'm gonna meet other people who are upbeat and excited, and I'm gonna be introduced to opportunities that are energetic, and it'll breed more energy. But if you're vibrating at a lower energy, I don't know if you believe in any of this, but if you're vibrating at a lower energy, you're going to connect with people who are on that same level, and you're going to, be just experiencing more of what you're putting out. And it's really hard to break that cycle when you're not experiencing anything else. You're literally just experiencing your room and outside for an hour. It was really isolating.
Yeah. And you at this point, you'd moved out, but you're still living with people?
So yeah, I was actually fairly fortunate because I got to move in with one of my best friends and his family, and his brother was there, and we got a new housemate as well. She was from Albury. She actually was supposed to be in America studying, so she got a scholarship to go over there, and because of COVID, she came back from America. So during that time, she was waiting to go back to America to do her uni, and she was having to wake up at 10:30 p.m. to do her lectures because it was 9 a.m. in America. But I was lucky too because I had my boyfriend, and I had, one of my friends' girlfriends who would come over, and, my housemate's boyfriend. So I was actually one of the fortunate ones who, for my birthday, because it was in lockdown, all our partners just came over, and there was 7 of us in the house.
So you had to think about having a bubble? Kind of like...
We didn't have it. You were only allowed your intimate partner.
Okay.
We were just lucky that all of us who lived there,
you had enough people
had
to
intimate partners.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't have to make that hard choice are we going to see each other with your partner? Are we going to live together so that we can see each other all the time, or...?
No. So they actually did try to say that you weren't allowed to see your intimate partner if you weren't living with them.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to see them if you were living with them, but there was a lot of uproar about that.
Yeah, I imagine.
So it only lasted 2 days, and they said, okay, you can see your intimate partner. Yeah.
Oh, man. So you had a birthday party, is that what you're saying?
7
With
people. It was
cool.
crazy.
How was that more than your 21st?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, that's something positive.
I had a 21st, so that post that you saw was actually
Yeah.
from my going away /21st.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I did have a party that night, and you would have seen the post from the end of the night.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So
Crazy
your
times.
relationship did break down? Do you want to talk about this? You don't have to talk about this.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. Yeah. I live with his parents, and his parents are very different to me. And also, they didn't know me. Even Aaron now, like, I still talk to him, and he's like, wow, you're so busy. You do so much. Yeah, it's not lockdown over here.
Yeah.
Also, I have the network over here. I know a lot of people over here.
Yeah.
And, like, I was trying to tell you that, like, I'm feeling really down. And he just used to think that I was, like, lazy or unmotivated or incapable.
I can't even put myself in your shoes with that kind of situation.
Because he was still going to work.
but yeah.
He was a cop. He still went to work.
Yeah.
His parents had a gym at the back of their house.
I mean, they hired a bunch of extra cops here. So I imagine they were the people who were not getting let go.
He was getting paid so much more than what he was before because he was doing overtime.
Yeah.
They put him on 10-hour shifts every day. Which, I mean, that's a lot. So, yeah, he was working a lot.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to do.
So what time do you realise it's breaking up? Was like, oh, I can't be bothered coming over to your house during lockdown, or?
No. We always saw each other every day.
Yeah.
There was never any question about our commitment to each other. It was more my heart
just normal
hurt
things?
all the time. Yeah.
It was just normal. Like this could have happened out of lockdown.
No, I don't think. I think if I hadn't lived with his parents, that might have made a difference. If I was a better version of myself, maybe it would have made a difference. But it was those things plus being with someone who might not have been equipped to support or understand someone else who was going through those things.
Yeah, that would have been a bit of a shock to the system. Realizing, oh, this could be my in-laws.
Well, yeah. And also realizing, hey, like my family's in Perth, so if I have kids, like his sister just had a baby.
Yeah.
If I have kids, then these are going to be the people that I'm reaching out to for support.
Yeah.
And they don't think highly of me. They don't see my value. They don't appreciate me. They don't love me.
And you were certain of this? Do you have third party? Or was this like maybe a mind game in your head that you're thinking they didn't?
Well, at the beginning...
Because of everyone's going crazy in lockdown.
The beginning of COVID, she said to me, you're not going to like this. And I said, what is it? And she was like, I think you should move back to Perth. And I said, why? And she was like, because you should be with your family during lockdown. And I was like, well,
oh my God.
My life is over here. I've been here for 2 years. What do you mean? Just like pack up my life and leave? Don't you want me to be with your son? Like, what? And I was, I realized she didn't really want me there.
Wow. That's something.
There were times where we were looking for apartments to move in together, and his dad just lost it. What are you looking for apartments for? You don't know what the world is going through right now. China's about to invade America, and there's going to be a world war, and we should be asking our grandparents what's going to happen because we're about to go into a war like what they lived through. You're crazy. Like you shouldn't be moving out right now. And I kind of said, look, I'm really struggling living here. Like I really need to go, and we always planned to move out together. And he said, well, if you're not happy, then you should move out. And I was just like, I don't feel like I'm good enough for you guys. I really don't feel like I'm good enough for you guys. And the next day they sat me down and they said, look, if Aaron chooses you, then we accept you.
No.
Literally.
No.
We if Aaron has chosen you, then we accept you. We accept you to being here. I know. And I was kind of like, wow, like you don't... And I told them I'm really struggling. And they gave me nothing.
To be fair, I've seen things like that happen in my own family, but...
You know that's when the person isn't welcome.
Yeah.
They're not wanted there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awkward.
And then I had to be like to my boyfriend, hey, your parents don't like me. And he'd be like, no, yes, they do. You don't like them. I'd be like, yes. But because they don't treat me very well.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
So that's kind of what ended it.
It was, that. And then also I would be like, hey, I'm feeling this way. And then he would be like, oh, you're too sensitive. you're letting everything out. He would gaslight the hell out of me, which yeah. And that's so hard when you're trying to communicate how you feel in such an intense environment.
I can't. Yeah, again, I would trying to put myself in your shoes. That would be just intense.
You just got to be headstrong.
Yeah.
You just got to know who you are, and what you're feeling is authentic to you, and therefore it is right and it is valid. And you just have to be so headstrong in yourself that even if the closest person to you, or family or friends or anyone, is telling you otherwise, you just have to know as what's right in your heart and just lead with that. Other people can try to influence you, but at the end of the day, like, you know yourself best. You know how you're feeling, you know what's right for you, and you're the only one that's ever going to protect that.
You should start a podcast. So now, okay, you've lost kind of, I don't know what your living situation is. Is that stable?
Yeah, actually. Oh, yeah.
Is it just an ad hoc situation?
It was so hard because I was like, yeah, we're family. I get to live with my best friends. I would cook dinner for us and everything. But my friends are entrepreneurs, grind, wake up 10 a.m., sit in front of the computer until 3 a.m., throw all their money into this business and just grind. So I'm like, hey, family, I love this house.
And because you're
beautiful.
Semi-unemployed?
Yeah, uni student.
So you've got plenty of time studying.
Yeah, so I'm wanting to make this a home, and they're just kind of I just wanted it to be my workstation.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I had to learn a new dynamic with them, but I mean, I'm so lucky that they're such beautiful people, like family, literally. And so, you just learn. You just learn what other people want and, what they're receptive to and what you want, and you just adapt. And so I did that.
I think the worst thing of all, you had to give up your rabbit.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
That's so sad.
So when I came to Perth in late Feb, early March, I moved out of my apartment because the plan was to get an apartment with my boyfriend. So I gave my bunny Bunsen to some friends, and they were going to keep her. And I was like, okay, amazing, thank you. And they were so happy to have her. So I went away to Perth, and then I came back to Melbourne, and then I was living with Aaron's parents, and there was no way they were having the bunny there because just that's how they were.
It's this ridiculous woman with a bunny rabbit.
Literally, we're not having a bunny here. Yeah. And then my friends, because I stayed at his parents' house for 3 months.
Yeah.
And my friends, after 2 months, were like, hey, we're going on holiday. We don't have anywhere to put it. And then I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so I had to find her a new home.
Oh no.
It was so sad. She was the loveliest bunny. She was so friendly. She was so lovely.
You used to send me videos though.
Yeah.
At what point do you decide to come home?
7 months into stage 4.
But have you it's been on your mind all the time? Obviously your partner's parents have told you to buzz off to Perth. It's on your mind. Are you weighing it up? This is my new life and thing, but I've got family at home, and things are getting messy here.
I always kind of felt a little bit out of place in Melbourne, to be honest. I love the ocean. I was at the beach every day, even in Melbourne, but it's not the same. And I kept thinking...
It's funny, why don't you go to Melbourne and not Sydney or something? I guess Sydney doesn't have that many beaches either, but...
Oh, it has way more than Melbourne.
Yeah.
Because I was interested in the culture of Melbourne, the artistic side,
get artsy and...
Yeah, and then so I was thinking, I'm at the beach every day. Why don't I go to a nice one in Perth?
Yeah.
So, and then I remember I just felt for a while, I get really bad seasonal depression. And it's so cold in Melbourne.
Man, I couldn't do it. Right when I met you in 2016, I got invited to the Melbourne International Film Festival, and I was there for a week. That's the longest I've ever been there before. Most of the time I think only the times I've been there, I've just been popping through, going to the ski fields or visiting family and then heading off to Sydney or something and that was in winter, and I don't know how people live like this.
It was cold.
As a kid, I thought I was a winter person, but it's not until you experience Melbourne winter you're like, no, I'm not a winter person.
Yeah, it's not until you experience actual winter.
Yeah.
Perth doesn't have winter.
Because in Perth, in
raining.
July, there's a couple of rainy weeks, but the rest of the time, it's always sunny, even if it's cold. So even if it's cold, you can go out in the sun and get warm.
Yeah.
But yeah, Melbourne was very different.
Melbourne, it was like, I think, did it get to -5? Am I making this up? I swear to God. I just remember I was like, because I went in August when I first got there.
Yeah.
And so I remember just like I didn't have winter clothes.
Yeah.
I'm like walking and I'm like freezing walking to work. And my hands, I couldn't keep them out my
Yeah.
pockets because they were just so cold. And yeah, I got really bad like seasonal depression too. So sometimes in winter I would just feel like a bit out of place. Like, do I belong here? Like I don't know if I've really found my place over there. And then when it came to the end of COVID and what happened with my relationship, I was just thinking like, if I do have kids, because we were in a serious relationship, like he moved in after 3 weeks. He moved into my apartment after 3 weeks. Yeah, I moved in with his parents after 3 months. He came over to meet my family after 3 months. He was going to buy a house, and you know, we had this whole plan together, this whole life that we were planning together. And when I thought about having kids away from my family, I was kind of like, I need to be back in Perth, and there was no way that he was coming over to Perth either.
Oh, okay.
And so when we started to break up, I just was just like, I gotta go. And then I just left, and I did 2 exams and a 2,500 word assessment in quarantine at
What
my
was quarantine
nana's
like?
house.
You're in Northam.
Yeah.
Good old Northam.
Northern. Oh, intense.
Because some people who were doing the hotel quarantine, like they were going crazy because that was kind of the same thing where you weren't even allowed outside. But I think by the time you came over, it was a bit more looser and you had the freedom to go stay with family.
Yeah, you could stay at a house if you had your own your own bathroom, room, and living room, and you didn't have to go in any part of the shared spaces of anyone else. So I was lucky, yeah, I could go to my nana's house. But that was intense because my nana, she has a lot of furniture and things around. So I was trying to help her because she'd broken 2 hips in the last year.
My God, yeah.
So trying to help her by moving this furniture around. I was still working with the ATO from home. So I worked 2 days, and then I had 2 exams, and then I had organising all her stuff.
What was your emotion like? You're back in, sunny Northam in the wheat belt.
I was annoyed because of the flies and the mosquitoes and the spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you excited because you got 2 weeks. It's kind of like you've left Melbourne, your life there, or are you thinking going back?
I told everyone over there that I was just going to come over here for 6 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I didn't have the heart to be like, hey, I might actually move.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I wanted to move either.
You didn't know?
Actually. Yeah.
But you're stuck in this house. I mean, it's nice hanging out with your grandma. But
Yeah.
like, what's the anticipation for the other side? Like, what are you thinking about? Are you relaxed at this point, or are you still
No.
worrying about things?
High strung, super
Yeah.
high strung. I'm going out for a walk outside, and I'm like, oh, my mask. I did that for like a month,
Oh, yeah,
even
that's
out
right.
of
You
quarantine.
guys had to wear masks.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had exams.
Yeah.
I had work. There were spiders. There was 3 tarantulas in the
Okay.
room I was staying in.
So you had plenty on your mind.
Yeah,
You have to
I-
wallow in your own self-pity or anything.
No, absolutely no self-pity apart from the breakup,
Yeah.
which I was also going through at that point as well.
Oh, my God.
No self-pity, just heartbreak and ache and the unknown. What is life like without restrictions and being in stage 4 lockdown?
Yeah. And what were you coming out to? Like, do you still have a job at ATO?
So it's the quiet period now because
Okay.
tax time's finished.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They also don't know I'm here.
Yeah.
So if I get shifts and they're rostered on for 9 a.m, I start at 6 a.m. online.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably going back into the office soon, aren't they? Life's
to-
back to
you have to tell
normal in
them,
Melbourne.
yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it kind of just came just after you got back.
So the day that I came out of quarantine was the day that they came out of lockdown.
Yeah.
Literally the same day.
So you didn't really get any advantage at all.
No, I had to go through lockdown.
Yeah.
Except life in... Like, they still have to wear a mask.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been here for 2 months.
People don't give an effing. Oh, I still have to go to some buildings where they only let 2 people in into the lift at the same time. But other than that,
It's not a thing over here.
Yeah.
It's weird.
when you came out, what did you notice that you appreciated the most?
My friends, my family.
Yeah. the basics?
So many layers. Like, yeah, I was getting out of. Yeah.
Obviously, you
Yes,
have to wear a mask.
I appreciated feeling the fresh air on my skin and
Yeah.
not feeling it through a mask. I appreciated being free, not
Yeah.
having to worry. Like in Melbourne, I remember once my boyfriend and I went down to the beach, parked up, and were just talking. And a cop car came into the car park and started patrolling. And we were like, how far are we from my house right now? And we looked it up. We were 7 kilometers away. And I was like, oh, God, we're actually breaking the law. So we had to leave, drive 2 kilometers down the beach and pull in. And then we were like, okay, so 2 kilometers down the road is illegal. Here is legal.
Yeah.
It was just so weird. And so to be over here and just be like, I'm here, like I'm there, I am everywhere, and I'm allowed to be here, I'm not breaking any rules, that freedom was great. But the main thing was my family and my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what's next?
I'm on this path where for so long I was stuck in this place where I had nowhere to go, literally. I legally wasn't allowed to go anywhere. There were no opportunities. There was no meeting anyone. There was nothing but yourself. And which is great. I mean, who doesn't love spending time with yourself? But I also wasn't setting any goals for myself because I kept saying, it'll be over soon, it'll be over soon. So I've come out with this appreciation for, number one, adaptability. Make plans and goals for whatever the circumstances are that you're in now. There will never be a time where you can't be achieving something or working towards something. And I wish I had done that in lockdown. I wish I had been like, okay, well, I have the opportunity to do this, so I'm going to set this goal for myself. So now coming out, with that perspective, and also the perspective of following what makes me feel good, what feeds my soul, what drives me, what gives me energy. I'm literally just doing just that. If something excites me, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to jump in. And I'm going to give it everything, and I'm not going to miss out on any opportunities.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's a little bit deep.
But you're thinking at the moment sticking to Perth, or are you daydreaming about jetting off somewhere else?
Well,
I guess not many places you can go outside of Australia. Maybe New Zealand one day. I don't know.
Following that philosophy and knowing what it's like to now be with my friends and family and how much that fills my soul and my heart, I'm going to follow that. I'm going to stay.
But I think it's really cool that you had that experience. You've done that and you know that. You know what it's like to live away for quite a while and you come back and the city's changed a bit. We're in this thing that you've never seen before.
Over there, it's just like boom, 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 boom. So fast paced, such a big city. And I've kind of brought that back with me. And I'm like, I want to have that.
You're going to get an apartment in the city and get a job.
What's in Perth City?
I don't know, man. They're building all these bloody apartments. I don't know what they're doing with them.
I want to live near the beach.
All right. Just chill out. Live the true Perth lifestyle.
But then the thing about Perth, though, is to utilise, to be fast-paced, you have to, know where things are, and then you've got to drive 20 to 25 minutes to get it. Yeah. And I feel like I know myself so much more as a human. Like, going to a city where you don't know anyone, you have to understand yourself. And even my first New Year's there, I spent the countdown on my own, and I just thought, usually I would be so upset about this, but I'm actually really happy because I actually really enjoy my own company. And I'm so fulfilled in this moment that, I literally don't need anything else other than myself. So I've brought that back. I've brought back in knowing yourself, you know how to care for yourself, you know what your needs are. So I'm more equipped to deal with certain situations. Like, everyone has a crazy family. I can add more value to that. Experiences like that change your life. And coming back, I can definitely see how I'm a completely different person. I can see so many different areas that I'm going to improve. Even just like connecting with old relationships and friendships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like, I love it because I'm like, I feel like I'm coming to you guys as a much better person. I'm able to be a much better friend, and I don't know. I just love it.
Yeah,
it's such a good
cool
place to be in.
Older and wiser.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for coming on the
Thanks
podcast.
for having
Do you have
me.
any a public persona? Do you want to? Can people stalk you? Do you have a
I
public
have my
profile?
Instagram.
Is that public?
Yeah.
Do you want to share it?
Yeah, it's Jazz Cheshire, so Jaschesh.
Oh my God, is that pronounced Cheshire?
Why? How have you
Well, I assumed it was like Cheshire Cat.
Cheshire Cat. What?
What? I'm going to Google this when I get home.
That's the proper pronunciation. If you're from England, it's Cheshire.
Cheshire. Maybe that's how I'm saying it.
Maybe.
Cheshire.
Just a little twist.
I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it. I assume I got it from the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, but I thought it was pronounced Cheshire Cat.
Cheshire. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where I am. I also want to start a podcast.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if we've started that by the time I post this, I'll put it in the show notes. Jasmine's project. You can follow you at Jazz
Cheshire.
Cheshire.
Yeah.
You might have to make an account for your podcast.
Yeah, I want it to be holistic health. I want it to be people who have mastered different areas of life and health, and ask them how they got there, what inspired them, what motivates them, what they've achieved.
Lovely. You were asking about, do I believe in energy?
Yeah, energy and vibrations.
And all that stuff. You know what happened to me right before you called yesterday?
What?
I mean, I know we look for patterns in life to fit together to try and explain things, but I knew we were thinking of organising a call to set this up, but I didn't know whether you call, and you just called out of the blue. Like 2 minutes before that happened, like literally maybe 3, someone like reversed into my car in the parking lot, smashed into the back of it, and didn't leave a note. And I was literally on the verge of getting really upset about it. And you called and said, hey, I got this really cool idea for a podcast. And normally this would send me into like kind of depression, because I literally only just got fixed from the last time this happened, like 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
And it just happened again. And at least that last time, that person left a note, so it got covered by insurance. Anyway, but positive energy. I was excited about your idea. It kind of like, and I haven't really worried about it. It's just like, that's life.
I'm glad that I could...
You could help out, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and even just for me...
And I feel like it's a sign. That's why you asking why I'm trying to help you out. I feel like the universe is like, oh, God, I've got to help her out with this thing.
Well, the fact that you are helping me gives me so much energy and makes me feel so excited, because this has been something that I've been thinking about for so long. And so for having the opportunity to even just come on your podcast and learn what it's about and feel like I have a voice or a platform to be able to share my stories, I'm so appreciative of that. And the fact that you literally... you have no idea. I'm so excited. I'm literally
cool.
so
I'm excited too. It's really kept my mind like positive about the world. So thank you. All right, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.